South about it.
Yeah.
What's that?
You say fire in the hole.
Minor notes. Just
GD. Josh, you are 1. You are 4. You need me to adjust. Good morning and welcome to the Hodge Pack Sports Life and everything in between right here on 106.9 The Country Giant. We're glad that you're with us this morning. Great Friday morning. We're into September. Dove, I don't know if they're flying. I don't know if they're dying. I haven't seen a whole lot of pictures. We'll get Josh's take on that in a moment. I know he's not shooting. That's a whole other thing. But West Texas Fair and Rodeo is on its way, which means hopefully some rain. But definitely what is definitely happening is all levels of football. We've got high school, we've got college. And after last night, the NFL had kicked off, and we have everything full tilt football-wise, and so it is a great day. Josh is here. Misty is making a difference in some actually adults' lives. It's not students. She's helping with Leadership Abilene today, so we appreciate it. So joining us, familiar boy, former guest host, and we'll see if he can be smarter than a fifth grader, because Coach Bordas was not. But Josh, good to have you this morning, and also Brent Hill.
Hello, Hodge Pack and Hodge Packers.
There you go. Maybe the Hodge Packers we may have.
So good to be back.
It is good. It's great to be back. It's all the things. Josh, how are we doing? A couple of days out of not having to look down.
Oh yeah. I'm recovering. I have discovered something.
What's that?
I have to wear reading glasses now, and I didn't have to prior to having this retina detachment issue. So I guess I learned that I couldn't read with my left eye, and I didn't know that.
There you go.
I could read.
You were on the verge. What hour are you? 44?
43. That's not,
Only
that's not
43.
bad.
Even still, you were on the verge. You were going to need these no matter what. So.
Yeah. Just accelerated it.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of proud I don't have to right now.
Because now, I get a text, when I look at my watch because a text comes in, I can't read it. I don't even know why I look at it.
So feel free to text Josh
Right.
whatever you want and make fun of him because he can't read it.
Yeah.
There
Right.
you go. So
You blow the screen up.
Yeah, you can make it bigger, Josh.
That's admitting defeat. We're just gonna roll.
Yeah,
with
I'm
it
just
for a
gonna-
while.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so Misty's gone, but she'll be back next week. We're going to be on the road next week as the Fairway 500 is back, and we'll be on the road next week. But we are here in the Potosi Live studio with so much to talk about. We're going to dive right into our Lawrence Hall headline report. Again, so much to talk about sports-wise. Coco Gauff, first female, U.S. female teenager to be in the U.S. Open final. She won yesterday since Serena Williams. So Coco Gauff, we have a chance for U.S. Women's champion in tennis. Yesterday was contract day. This past week was contract week, as one person didn't get signed, and Chris Jones, and one did. Joey Bosa signs for $170 million, $122 guaranteed, $34 million a year, making him the highest paid defensive lineman in history, defensive player in history. And who do you think is really happy about that?
All the other ones.
Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons is, when it's time for that contract, if we see another year like saw last year, and if he continues to progress in that area, I just hope we understand how much we're going to need to pay him if he rises to that occasion. So Bosa's signed, Chris Jones still not. We'll talk about the Chiefs more in a moment. Joe Burrow last night. No more Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin looking. That dude's loaded. $275 million extension, largest. 219 of it's going to be guaranteed, $55 million a year. Now, makes him the highest paid, okay? The most guaranteed money that we've seen over these last little stretches of pays or contracts. Deshaun Watson, 230. Joe, 219. Justin Herbert, 193. And probably one of the most disappointing ones is Kyler Murray at 189. Because he's probably not ever going to play for the Arizona Cardinals again. And you want to talk about a bad purchase, was Kyler Murray. So, now, if you're a Bengals fan, you're excited that you signed this guy for a long-term deal, which is good. But It always makes me nervous when the big contract gets signed. Is do they rise up to the money?
I mean, that's always a concern that the rush to sign people to extensions, and sometimes there's maybe not enough history to really know how that's going to play out, or in Kyler Murray's situation, injury and just lack of maybe desire. I mean, I don't really know what all goes with that, but yeah, I mean, when the team puts down guaranteed money, that's going to be, it's going to be on the books. But I always say it's not my money.
And Joe
Well,
Burrow,
the ironic thing is whether he does really well or not. I mean, like the $189,000 for Kyler, $189 million for Kyler, that sounds pretty cheap right now.
right?
I mean, it's nowhere close to the most.
It's a good thing it's
anymore.
cheap because he's pretty much so far at cheap.
So Joe Burrow will be cheap in 2 or 3 years.
Oh, yeah, all of them
This
do.
will be a good deal. It's just whether he's good or not, it'll end up being a bargain.
Yeah, and the aforementioned Chiefs, they signed Mahomes, who I do think is probably the best quarterback in football right now. And when his contract was originally signed, it was the biggest ever. And then a few years later, it's not. So
This is what I'm thinking about. It always seems like it's a real risk unless they've already had the success of winning the Super Bowl. Did Mahomes win? 'Cause
Yes,
a lot of
he
these
got that
best
deal
quarterbacks-
after, yeah.
A lot of these really, I mean, the guys that go on to be Hall of Famer quarterbacks, they tend to have major success early in their career, and you don't ever really worry about are we overpaying them or not. Everybody else, it's always a bargain. I mean, or not a bargain. It's always a gamble.
Right. So again, that's a new deal. Another new deal is Kim Mulkey has now got a 10-year deal at LSU. So it's contract week in sports. But last night, guys, the NFL kicked off as Super Bowl champion. We mentioned Mahomes kicked off without one of his best weapons on offense and their best weapon on defense. Chris Jones was in the stands in the stadium watching, and I'm sure he's thinking, all right.
well, yeah, Bosa got a lot of money. So.
Bosa got a lot of money, and I think we could have won by 2 points, or at least I would have got you another one. So they lose last night. The Detroit Lions win 21-20 over the Kansas City Chiefs. All the hoopla, the banners, and all the things. Last night, Patrick Mahomes throws 3 touchdown passes, but unfortunately, one of them was to the other team. But what should
That
we
wasn't really his fault.
No, and that, you're exactly right. He threw to 11 different people, and Tony, for whatever reason, decided to drop balls left and right. And then you're exactly right, Brent. The interception that went for pick 6 was not his fault. Hit the guy in the wrong spot, which I guess was the hands. Landed in the arms of Brian Branch, and Brian Branch took it to the house. And the Detroit Lions won 21-20. Now, the overreaction would be the Chiefs are done and the Lions are going to win it all. But I think what everything's been leading up to ever since the Detroit Lions beat the Packers at the last game of last year to send the Packers packing and Aaron Rodgers to New York, this is kind of the hype that we thought everybody's been talking about the Detroit Lions.
Oh, right. I mean, they are a team that's building and going in the right direction, and they've got pieces put together to be a playoff contender. And that's and I guess not that I would have bet on the Lions winning that game last night, but I originally in a Survivor league that I'm in, I had the Chiefs as my pick for that first week because I don't get cute. I try to get I'm not I'm going to save this good team for later in the season because
So
I don't
you
want to
picked the Chiefs last night?
No, I had picked the Chiefs. Yesterday afternoon, I was like, with Kelsey out, I'm out. So I made a different pick, and I'm glad that I remembered to do so. But
I had some.
I was waiting for you to speak.
No,
because you look like you were
like,
about to.
do I need to hit a hotkey? No, but last night. But I guess that one of the things that is good is, and we're going to talk about another very charismatic coach a little bit later on in the show. But what Dan Campbell brought to his post or when he got interviewed, and I want to bite the knee, and we're going to do all those things, but he's starting to see that the mentality of the Detroit Lions is changing. It's not they're going to be terrible, but we'll have a game on Thanksgiving. There are people that are picking them to win that division, like you and I did,
Mhm.
and so it's pretty neat when you start seeing franchises maybe making that turn.
Okay, I remember what I was going to say. The Matthew Stafford trade. That has worked out for both. I mean, obviously, the Rams ended up winning that Super Bowl straight away, so that worked out for them. But you're really seeing this building that they did and they began it before that, but
right. But they needed to reset, and Matthew Stafford was towards the twilight years of his career,
right.
and not somebody
you're going to build around.
Right. So they made that adjustment, have drafted well, and really just put together a pretty good product. And what I also took away from that game last night is if they weren't just playing, the Kansas City Chiefs at home, which is Arrowhead is one of the loudest stadiums, one of the the premier places to play football, but they also beat the referees that seemed to have it in for them for a little bit there in the fourth quarter.
Well, and you look at the things that sometimes we forget, and you mentioned it with contracts and all that, Brent, is Jared Goff was the number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't coming out of college as just, Josh Rosen. I mean, this guy was the number 1 draft pick and had a little bit of success at the Rams. And remember, he led them to a Super Bowl. They just lost.
Right.
I mean, he's been in a Super Bowl before. Now, again, overreaction. Detroit's going to win it all and go 17-0. But so seeing what they're doing. But here's the other thing. The reason we know Detroit changes. Now, don't get me wrong. There's sometimes where the Thursday night or the Thursday night games have kind of been crappy, and they just put people there. But they've got multiple primetime games coming up. And they don't just put teams slaps in the primetime slots.
They don't put, especially, sometimes the Thursday night games aren't great, but the opening game of the season, the very first Thursday night, they always try to get a marquee matchup.
Right, and it's the Super Bowl champion from the year before, and if you're a Chiefs fan, you do have, it's not that the wheels came completely off, because with Kelsey gone and with their aforementioned Jones not being there, 2 of their top 3 players, I guess, that's going to set anybody back. But it does show. I expected there to be regression from the Chiefs last year when Tyreek Hill left, because they didn't really have that other person to be a playmaker, outside of Kelsey. And then you saw last night when Kelsey wasn't there, there was nobody that was going to step up and make it.
And I think you would have saw the same thing if Tyreek Hill was still on that team last year and they traded Travis Kelce to the Dolphins. I think you would have saw that last night. Now, don't get me wrong. He threw it to 11 other people and did some good things. Mahomes was Mahomes.
Oh, yeah, he was.
But he also, people were dropping it. And when you don't have that security blanket.
Can I make an observation about Mahomes? And I don't want to offend the Mahomes fans out there. I know there's a lot of new Chiefs fans in the last few years because of him. And he's fantastic. And I think, we're going to be talking about him later. He'll probably win another MVP this year. But do y'all feel like he's doing a caricature of himself out there? I mean, do you feel like he forces these little sidearm throws and these little flip shots and things like that? Do you feel like he tries to get a little too cute?
I think so, but I think it's because he can, and it's.
Yeah.
I think it's because he can and has done it and seen success in it. But I may be wrong. But again,
It just looks like sometimes he could throw the ball down the field and instead decides to do a little sidearm flip to somebody 2 yards in front.
Well, it's probably no different than you can make a pretty chest pass.
Yeah.
And instead, you're going to go no look between the legs, bounce off somebody's head, and then get it to him. So anyway, all right, that's our Lawrence Hall Headline Report. Head over to Lawrence Hall. They will be sure to get you taken care of. Head over to 1385 South Danville. They'll get you taken care of. When we come back, one of the things that we are seeing, and it's a debacle, and that's the Texas Rangers. The pause is there because I don't know what's going to happen. We got some news. Unfortunately, Adolis Garcia's out, but we'll be back with our first Bank and Trust Texas Ranger report right after this.
I noticed there was no trash.
Yeah.
next time that I'm here and you ask if I want 2 burritos and I say no, don't listen to me. I always want to. Every time I have one, I always wish I had a second.
Well, and see, and I did that the other day, thinking I wanted to, because I thought, well, they're just small tacos. I'll do the second one. And I didn't finish the second one.
So you need to have these glasses before, Josh? You even have glasses many times?
No. Not until I started having my eye. But not checking everywhere I go, so I'm not looking like.
But I'll let you have the old man look at last year's fancy.
That's when it first started. That's when I had that. Right. Cataract issue.
Oh,
Which was a whole other thing. It was a different type of cataract, not like your typical old person cataract. But
did you have to have cataract surgery?
I've had eye surgery twice this year.
Is the Evan Carter kid going to help? Can it be a spark plug?
Probably could be. I'm not betting on anything right now.
Morning, Dad. Morning, Kobe.
Yeah.
As you heard in the Mulligans, time has changed and time is running out for the Texas Rangers as we come back to the Hodge Pack, Sports Life, and everything in between. We're glad that you're with us on this Football Friday as the Hanson Tigers will be tonight taking on the Dublin Lions, heading on the road. But you can hear them right here in your living room, wherever you want to hear them at, right here on KLGD. Stephen Estes will have a call for you tonight. Hanson Tigers heading to Dublin, so catch them tonight at 7 o'clock. Josh, time is running out, but there's not a whole lot of time left. When football's starting, that means baseball regular season's winding down, and it looks like the juice meter. They need some Space Jam juice. If you remember that, feel free to download, subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. You can go back and hear about Space Jam juice. But Josh, it's time for our first Bank and Trust Texas Ranger report, and the Rangers' time is running out, and it's not looking very good. Still hope, still alive. Nobody's pulled the plug yet, but we are struggling.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm also struggling to eat that last bite of burrito that was graciously provided by Miranchito. It was good. Got in a little bit of a hurry, too big of a bite. I'll probably be okay. If I do choke, you can, I guess, give me the Hunt.
I once knew the Hunt.
But
He was a nice guy.
I'll tell you this: the Rangers are right now. It's kind of like, I don't know if y'all have ever watched a TV show, a series that you're like really following that you liked, and the first season was great,
Sons of Anarchy.
and then like the second season was okay,
The movie Saw.
and then the third season was like, I don't even know why I'm watching this, like, and then just about the time, I think Sons
Next
of
thing you know,
Anarchy.
they're burning the man's daughter alive.
Well,
All your friends are
that's very
dead.
gruesome.
Yeah.
But
It was
so,
horrible.
Ironically, so is the Rangers
yeah,
season.
so
Yeah, it's
just about the
parallel
time that you're like, I don't think I'm going to watch this anymore. There's something that happens and it kind of draws you back in. And you kind of feel like some sort of obligation. You're like, well, I've watched this show for 3 seasons. I might as well finish the 4th, But, then there's always that little thing that, that cliffhanger that like, okay, well, I'll watch next week's episode. And that's what the Rangers have done to me right now because right before the All-Star break, we all remember there's kind of been a little sputter, but they did have 6 All-Stars all on the field at the same time, which was, something that hadn't happened I would like ever. Well, I think it was like the Yankees did it in like the 30s, when and they're all in the Hall of Fame, so it's like, very, very rare company. After the All-Star break, they kind of get going back in the right direction a little bit, and then we get to August, and the wheels completely came off. And the culmination of that, obviously, was that just atrocious of a series with the Astros. And then that made all the Astros trolls come out of their caves even more than they already were. And we need to play whack-a-mole and send them back, but that's a different story. But anyway, after that Astros series, you're thinking, we had a day off yesterday. I say we, not in the sense of like, sometimes we talk about our team, we say we, but like the fans needed a day off, I think, as bad as the team did. And Adolis Garcia strains his patella tendon. I guess the MRI says it's not a tear, so it's not a surgery required. A few weeks, maybe he can come back. He was struggling at the plate, so that a reset might be good for him. Also,
I'll be honest with you, though. I thought the bomb walk-off that he hit
might be like spark it back up,
would get things rolling.
I was thinking the same thing.
It just didn't. It's almost like whether it's golf, whether it's whatever it is, it just feels like they can't kind of get going. It's one of those, it's in there. I mean, the talent's there.
All right.
I mean, yes,
obviously.
Josh Young would love to be back, and maybe, we've seen September 18th, but the problem is, if September 18th is still lit, if you don't do a whole lot of things between now and September 18th, because the problem with the wild card is, you've got all these other people battling for it. So you're in this big horse race, jockeying back and forth, and it's frustrating. Now this weekend,
but the point that I was taking too long to develop is, yesterday the news did come out that Adolis Garcia was going to miss some significant time, and they decided to call up Evan Carter. And if you're not a I guess a prospect watcher, you might not have heard of him, but he is a pretty much consensus top 10 to 15 prospect in Major League Baseball. He's someone I've been looking forward to the day that he got called up for a couple of years now, and he's going to be called up. I guess the rumor is, but what has been reported is he's going to be called up today. So even if the Rangers are kind of in a sputter, and even if the season is not going in the right direction, Evan Carter gives me excitement to watch the game just to see what this guy can do, because he's one of those guys that you hope takes that next step and it just becomes a fixture on the team, and a guy that if he can yet to be determined where if he's just a quality everyday starter, a potential all-star or a potential superstar, we'll figure that out. But we get to watch that develop. In real time.
It's like when Biombo come into the Spurs, you're going to find out, do you like him? Is he going to be worth it? But it is a good thing. So as we start looking at the remainder of the schedule, one of the things that you do have, and again, you have the Oakland Athletics coming to town this weekend. Now, granted, they have zero, you fill in the blanks, to give, because they're done. They're ready to play slot machines and go to Vegas and all those things.
And yet they won a game yesterday, and the Rangers have lost 3. So,
but that's my point.
Losing multiple games in a row.
And that's the thing, when you start thinking about the Athletics coming to town, you would normally think they're at the bottom dwellers, they do not matter. But when they are playing with nothing to lose and all relaxed, it doesn't matter. So they're probably more dangerous than the good team coming in.
Well, every day is a win for them. If they get a win, it's a win.
Yes,
there's no pressure.
The Athletics have called up a lot of their young talent. People have come in that weren't with them at the beginning of the year. I think they're a better team than they were at the first of the year. And to the point of not having something to play for, the team record, they do not. but they have guys that are playing for their futures in Major League Baseball. So individually, those guys are out there trying to prove that they deserve to be Major League players, whether with the Athletics or with somebody else. So you can't count any team out because that is always the case. I mean, like on any team, no matter how bad, those guys are playing to prove that they need to start next year. So I mean, there's always some danger in a Major League lineup.
They're playing to be anywhere.
Right.
Whether it's with Oakland or being
right.
noticed,
If they're a free agent and get picked up somewhere else, maybe they get traded and packaged to somebody else or whatever the case may be. But so that's the point. Every MLB team has Major League Baseball players on it. I know that's a very
and that's why the Colts beat the Chiefs last year in the NFL in the regular season. Jeff Saturday's led Colts beat the Chiefs because they're still playing Division I athletes, you're playing professional athletes, but you start looking at this next stretch for the Astros. They've got the Padres, then they get their schedule is Oakland, KC. Now they got a little bit of battle where they've got to play Baltimore, but we've got 7 games remaining with the Mariners. We do not play the Astros anymore. We lost the boot, so I'm not. You still have so much to play for, and still to get in.
They're only a half game out of the wild card.
But what is fun is we're treating the Rangers like us Cowboys. In that, Cowboy fans, we're so quick to lose a game, and we're never going to win another one. And really, when we look at it, we still have a chance to be good. We still all those things. So the fact that we've got this kind of confidence and enjoyment of September 8th, having that kind of excitement for the Rangers, I don't think we thought we would see that.
Well, I think it's actually kind of a shame how quickly fans have, given up. Like you were saying, because, and I think I mentioned this last week. If you time machine back to March when we were talking about the Rangers and the preview of the season, I think the general consensus of not just us but national experts that were doing the how many wins is each team going to get and stuff like that. It was generally between 75 and 85 wins was like that span of what people were talking about. And at this point, 85 seems a long ways away because they haven't won enough lately at all. But they hit 70 wins at a very quick pace, and then kind of stalled out. But
they got to 72 faster than any time in history. And then you look at, I just don't think we thought it would take so long to get to 76.
Right.
As fast as we got to 72.
So they're 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. If they don't even have to get back to playing as well as they were. They can just get back to playing mediocre.
Yes,
baseball.
they're still
a little bit above 500. Win each series. We're not asking you to go on some crazy LA Dodger 11-game run. Win every series. Get 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4. And if you'll do that, you're going to see, because you're going to separate yourself.
Well, and the way the standings are right now, you could just look at it at the point of attack of the Toronto Blue Jays are a half game ahead. So from today to the end of the season, can they be 1 game better than the Toronto Blue Jays? Like the next team in the wild card is the Boston Red Sox, and they're like 5 games back.
But you're going to get to play them.
Yes, and they're playing the Blue Jays next week in Toronto. So now that's one of those things that'll be a real gut punch to go to if they go to Toronto and get swept, your uphill battle just got a whole lot steeper.
If you go and get swept, you probably start making vacation plans.
Yeah, I mean it's but
you get the duck hunt or whatever you want to do in October.
All the things that have gone wrong for this team with some injuries, and it seemed like the bullpen's been bad all year, but the starting pitching and the offense kind of has faltered all at the same time to just kind of join the bullpen. But as well as this team hit for the first half of the season, I think it's not out of any sort of realm of possibility, and it may actually be more irrational to just at this point think this is how bad they're going to be for the rest of the year.
At some point, there's got to be a reversion to the mean. They've got to start just a little bit better.
Right. And so hopefully that'll happen with the Oakland Athletics coming to town. When we come back, again, that's our first Bank and Trust Texas Ranger report. And our goal is next week to tell you that they are leading the division when we're on the air next week. We'll see what happens. All right, when we come back, 100 years. That is a long time. And that's a long time for football. It's a long time for anything. When we come back, our Big Country Electric My Town segment will have Coach Mike Reed from Gordon as Gordon and Strawn lock horns tonight for the 100th year. It's crazy. We'll be back right after this, and we'll get to ask you, can you still have a chicken fried Mary's if you coach your Gordon? We'll be back
The 100 years of playing this, the same, that happens a lot in college football. I mean, like, but what makes it so
I don't want to get in on this conversation.
unique in high school is that with that long, neither one like
Change
jumps.
the size
Yeah.
and move, yeah.
Yeah, like
And it only happened because these are two very small towns that haven't experienced much growth.
because when you think about
That's the way people are like.
yeah. If you just go back 30 or 40 years, even 20 whatever years, like for myself, the teams that played Wiley they're smaller than they were back when we played. And Wiley's obviously bigger.
Right.
So it's like
Schools have gotten smaller, small schools have gotten bigger,
Yeah.
small schools have gotten smaller, big schools have gotten bigger. But Strawn and Gordon have stayed the same.
there is a
Sounds like
I
an
know it's a
episode
hard-
of Texas Country Reporter. Ah,
it's a hard, I guess, dilemma that
Hey,
UIO
morning.
is
How's
in,
it going?
because the big schools are getting super big, but they're all pretty much metroplex in Houston, and
So 100 years,
the
huh?
small schools are getting really small, and they're farther and farther apart.
Right.
So it's like
What's the record?
yeah.
Or do y'all know
Schools with
that?
the money for a good travel budget don't even really need to travel. They can play their whole district to be within a 6-mile radius.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Hey, C.H. Underwood is kind of like a godfather of 6 men, right? Okay. That's what I thought. All right. Brent, Josh, y'all want in on some of this? Talk some 6-man football.
I'll sit here. I don't know what to say.
I will see. I know.
Southwest Palo, Pinto County. Oh, Texas. So you don't have school today, right? Still? Is that every Friday, or do you ever get any of the Fridays off? All right, last commercial, we're bringing you back. Welcome back to the Hodge Pack, sports life and everything in between. It's time for our Big Country Electric My Town segment, brought to you by Big Country Electric Cooperative. They take care of their members each and every day. Roby Snyder and Stanford, 3 amazing offices. We want to thank them for a guy that works at Taylor Electric. We had some storms that came through. They sent some folks over, co-ops working with each other, and so we appreciate them. In our Big Country Electric My Town segment, we highlight a local player coach program, and today we are highlighting a guy that used to coach in the Big Country, a buddy of mine, but looking at a program and a rivalry that's been going around 100 years. And I've got my biggest question is to ask here in a moment. It has nothing to do with football. But joining us on our Pest Patrol phone line, which you can call Pest Patrol or text 673-6700, and they will get you taken care of with all your insect pest needs out the door. But on the phone with us, we'll call him Coach Reed, but I'm going to call him Butter at least 3 or 4 times. Coach Reed, how are you doing this morning? So you're at Gordon, grew up back home, and Coach Reed and I have a long history coaching against each other when he was a hard-nosed John Calipari basketball coach. Don't let anybody fool you. This guy can coach anything. Our times at Rule and Roby. But, buddy, you're back home, and talk a little bit before we get into the 100-year stuff, what it's like being back home and getting to see your kids play where you play.
You don't have dreams of what you want to do in your profession, about what you do for the best interest of your kid. There's a lot of times the number one priority. Thankfully, Gordon has gone good for our family, for our kids, and then being around our family, the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, and just couldn't think of a better place shut out to be able to do that. Yes, I'll never forget it. Got to see running down the field wearing those same jerseys you wore in high school, and some of the job was the head cheerleader, and she wearing her uniforms, the same robe that my wife, David Herman, she was in high school, she wore on the sideline, and she was her job, something like that. It's just nice to do that.
Well, and I call you, there's C.H. Underwood is the godfather of six-man football, but you're probably, if they redid the movie Godfather six-man football, you'd probably be in it with the success that you've had. I know that you put your toe in a little bit of 11-man football and got back to it. But some of our folks that may be listening, even though there's a lot of six-man schools around here, just what drew you and what do you love about coaching six-man football?
Well, for me, I'm in the kid business, and I just pretty catch kids in TV, and then, 5 hours later, being a senior quarterback or blocking foreheads on a football field, and that's just who I am. I like to be really involved with kids in all levels, and I feel like being school Army night when I coaching, I grew up sports, I enjoy helping the kids through those avenues, and I'm a multi-sport guy, and so that's what I was, when I've been into the left hand was athletic director of Hamilton, and Hamilton was an amazing great place. I just kind of found myself more coaching the coaches than being around the kids. There was so many more kids, and I just never felt like I was ever reaching them. And then I just didn't know the little kids. But for me to be successful, I feel like I have to almost like raising kids. I felt like I really got to get in there with elementary and teach them the things that we want as they get older, and just be involved in that growth process. So that's what I love about it. That's what I'm a small town guy. And that's what I'm.
Well, again, joining us on our Pest Control phone line is Coach Mike Reed. And Coach, you're at Gordon right now, and you've got, obviously when Benjamin and Westbrook and Lorraine's playing in the state championship, you've got great six-man football in this state and in this area. And right now, you've got a good group of kids that have some success. You mentioned all the sports. So let's talk about this group of kids and then talk about tonight, 100 years, Strawn, Gordon, 8 miles apart. When we hear 8 miles apart, we think of Tobacco Road and North Carolina and Duke and all those other big rivalries. And you've got this 100-year rivalry tonight with a good group of kids that you've got right now. So talk about what this means, whether it's love, hate, Hatfield, McCoy, or just a lot of fun having that type of rivalry.
Well, I don't know if there's really necessarily any words that can be articulated to be able to sit there and describe or visualize what something might be. It's literally competing against your brother in a game that's happening. And it's just intense because for 1 year, there's some families that are, I think there's families that are intermarried, there's families that work together, there's towns like this town, like the middle, where just people work together, the kids work And so between the two, it doesn't matter whether you're Division One or Division Two. The communities want to be the best Big Ten football team, period. And when those are the year in, year out expectations, the kids know it, the parents know it, and the reason why Montana County consistently, whether it's from Gordon or whether it's from Strong, are going to have a team that's going to be vying for the championship every year. And we're just small schools, we go to have this fun with talent. But the Paramount City show that came out, that probably Leanne did a really good job. And we just I watched that episode of the Tom rivalry. I mean, for a town to have, between the two of them, have 1,000 people population between the two of them. Well, there's 4,000 people in the game. So that ought to tell you a little bit about people from Fort Worth and Abilene, Noel, Steveville, and surrounding areas that come up to watch that game. Well, even Porto giving up their Friday night game to come watch. But this year, due to official shortages, I notified a month ago that we were having to move the game. And so the game will actually be on Saturday this year at 7 o'clock.
Oh wow! So you're playing tomorrow. That's going to probably. Now my question is, what are you doing for capacity? Because now that everybody doesn't have to miss their game tonight and be in Gordon tomorrow night, how are y'all handling that?
Same on the fences, same on the track. They'll find the seat.
Awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Now, my question is, are you as a Gordon Longhorn? Do you still go? Are you still allowed to go eat at Mary's and have a chicken fry? How does that work?
Oh yeah, and the thing about the businesses in Gordon and Holland is we don't like each other for 1 week, but not that. We are a big family. It's really been nice, and this Montana County rivalry, everything was built up to be and more, but the rest of the year, I mean, it's a man jumping bragging rights for a year.
Well, and I'm sure it's similar. Like here in a couple of weeks, Holly and Auburn are going to play each other very similar in a non-district game, and then have a chance to go win this 2 state championships like they did last year. So what are you going to have to do? We've seen some Strong, we've had Rigdon kids and all those strong different type of kids come through. But like I mentioned earlier, you got a really good group of kids now. What do you see being, having to do obviously the main things, but obviously block well, tackle, take care of football that you'll need to do to get some bragging rights on year 100?
To be honest with you, I just think we have to just stay true to our course. We're playing really good football right now. John's playing really good football right now. There's a lot of points up on the board. They're trying to find their identity a little bit on the defensive side. But for us, we just have to stay the course. And we've got a pretty young team. And so just not looking to the next opponent, not looking even for the next practice, but just what we have to do day to day to get better. And so I know that's cliche, but to be honest with you, this group is they're very focused for talented, and so making a game a big game or putting it saying, hey, this is a big game, it doesn't really affect them. They just have really held true to just working each day to get a little bit better for the next day. And this group for us, hopefully will be in the regional finals in basketball, and then this group we put out it and ended up doing the same championship, and we'll bring everybody back off that group, and we were one run away from beating them, and then they got third in the state track team, with 5 freshmen and a senior. So there's a good little group here kind of running through that just knows how to win, and the parents know how to win, and the parents with a lot of kids for the parents with a 99 state championship team. All that comes from the home state. I walk into football a little bit different societies and how we treat things now. And, we run through a marathon and drink out of water hoses time period. And so it's really made my job a lot easier. And then being front board and going up to these people, sometimes people can say, well, that helps you or that hurts you. For me, it helps me because I felt like I was respected enough when I was here that I was a player. I did 5 years of student volunteer coaching by the Golden College State. My relations with these people come from a good foundation. Delta Campbell, at the time we were retired, was all-time winning and 6A football coach. And that's who I played under and did 5 years of studying from. And so, these guys know that when I have a conversation, a 5-minute conversation, it might take somebody 2 hours in a parent meeting to have. But people know where my heart comes from, that it's coming from a good place, what's best for the kid, and not just best for the kid, but best for the whole.
Well, Coach, Butter, I appreciate you joining us this morning. You may have just changed our plans for Saturday. We may have to head out to Gordon tomorrow and discuss that with Tracy. She's directing traffic and logging and stuff. But man, I appreciate you taking the time this morning. Always think a lot of you. Again, great coach, successful where you've been, and I hope you get the W tomorrow. All right, man. Again, that's Butter, Gordon, Strawn tomorrow, 100 years on the table. When we come back, knowing it's half the battle, we'll see what Josh has up his sleeves right after this.
Comes to finding the right vehicle for you, there's no
Thanks,
better
man.
place than Lawrence Hall in Abilene. For over 34 years,
All
Lawrence
right,
Hall
see
in
you, bud.
Abilene has been
Take
the
care.
place to find the
All right,
best
see
in
you, bud.
Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC. That is still true today. Great products.
We had a hot
great
night.
service, too.
Talk
So
to
next time you need a new car, truck, or SUV, come see us or shop 24/7 at
there a
Lawrence
problem?
Hall Abilene.
No, we've got to do
If there
something.
was a problem, go.
I saw it.
28 years. That's true. Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Jam tracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtime followed by Monday morning swag. Brisket and smoke. Miller Lite and the creek.
I really was about to make a joke last night on the text chain about you have maybe it has to be windows. And
Did it?
I didn't know that she was on the I would have been born.
If we can do it or don't have to, it doesn't matter. I just didn't. I mean,
There's no crying in mortgages. Buying a home should not make you cry. You deserve
well, let's do that anyway. I'll just read off some of that stuff and we'll add it next week.
Visit ColemanBank.com.
That way we don't mess anything up.
Your next move. If you are looking for a mortgage team and a league of their own, Coleman County State Bank is the place for you.
Oh no, we'll roll with it. We'll just roll with it. All right, man. Thanks. Later.
That was where we talked.
I'm not gonna answer that.
Make sure you have an experience that you're going to tell your friends about. Check out PotosiLive.com or go like them at Potosi Live on Facebook for their upcoming live music and ticket events. Head out to Potosi at 897 FM 1750 for the Potosi Live experience.
I had a swing thought for a second ago. I was like, there's something I was going to do.
I know Lauren, Mom.
I didn't do that. Put on caps. But later I went, oh yeah, my lips are chapped. That's what it was. Sat outside at a football game yesterday. Watched some 7th grade football at 105, just sitting in the sun.
You did?
Yeah.
What were you doing it for?
My nephew plays for the Wall. He had a 70-yard touchdown.
Boy, I'm missing out on this Hodge Pack, the bear picking challenge.
You're in it today. And you only miss 1 week. You still have a chance to win the overall conference. Last week we did go well.
And based on what Josh can do, you have a real good chance of beating him. I kicked his butt last week.
You picked Colorado because you're a dumb A and it ended up working for you.
It doesn't matter where the A comes from. remember, I got to do moving into the 8 o'clock hour. Brought to you by Hometown State Bank. Moving because they do mortgages. See,
Like I want to stay put.
you can do that.
Refinance, it's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. I would like to
can.
raise my payments significantly.
I'm just such a big fan of this bank. I want to pay it more. Good privilege.
Knowing is half the battle, and it's time for our Knowing is Half the Battle, brought to you by, well, nobody yet. If you want to bring it on, feel free. But today it is.
No one wants to sponsor this train wreck.
Well, Josh, it's your fault.
Yeah.
But true story. We normally do Misty's bag, where we do open up her bag and have the question. But again, she's out helping future leaders of America in Abilene, or whatever they're called, Leadership Abilene. But it is brought to you by Mulligan's.
Really long leaders that want to be better.
Yeah, your current leaders that want to be better and learn about Abilene more.
For
But
kids that don't know how to read good.
yes, that is true. Do well, Misty. But anyway, it is brought to you by Mulligan's, and Mulligan's got, hey, football's underway, college, NFL, and just want to let you know, Saturday and Sunday during the Monday Night Football games, wear your team swag and get beer specials, $2 drafts, $10 buckets. So head over to Mulligan's, Kyle and them. We had our HBA after hours there last night. Took care of us, just such a great job. Kyle does really good stuff there, so appreciate him sponsoring the show, but just always being a great friend as well. So, Josh, it's time for Knowing Half the Battle. You're up.
Okay. Well, first of all, you can wear your team swag, but you should be charged $4 a beer if you're an adult male who wears a jersey. We've already talked about that. But today, I've got somewhat of a confession to make. And it's not just me. It's a very universal issue that I see. And what we have to remember is Proverbs 16:18 says, pride comes before the fall, a haughty spirit before destruction. And I think nowhere is that more evident than in sports, especially sports fandom. We talked about the Rangers and their debacle that's going on currently. And I can tell you that there was a lot of people that had quite a bit of pride in like what was going on so far in the season, to the extent that I have some blame in this, because I told my boys that we would go to one more game this year. We've been to a couple. They really like going to Rangers games, but we would do one more this season. That was sometime in June, so we started planning, and then I thought to myself, let's wait and go at the end of the season so we can be part of this division chase, playoff push.
Watch them cut down the nets.
Yeah, maybe we're there the day they clinch the division and they all go crazy and all of that. So we purchased tickets to go to the last weekend against the Mariners, which still could be very, very important. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be more like scratching and clawing to try to make the playoffs, not like we're cruising to a division championship. I at least had the wherewithal to not say, let's just wait and go to the first round of the playoffs, because I, could have been that prideful. I'm also reminded of a text message that I received from a Texas Tech fan during the early goings of the Baylor-Texas State game, which did not go well for Baylor, who was mocking my my favorite football team's performance on the field. Lo and behold, a few hours later, Texas Tech also lost. So, I don't know that I want to name names, because we're not about pointing fingers here.
But you just need to know.
I think you should name names. I think we need to be inflammatory.
Well, we can. I will.
Let's inflame.
It was Evan Harris.
Of course it was.
My money was on Evan or Grant.
I'm not a Texas Tech hater, but at that particular moment, I became one for at least a second, and that just it reminds me that, like I said, pride comes before the fall. And sometimes I think that is just very evident in our fanship. When you start really getting, a little overly arrogant in your team, just be ready.
Yeah, because it really is, and it's easy to do that because, and in their defense, not Evan's defense, but Baylor had the late game, and Wyoming and Tech were playing each other. It would be very easy for everybody to start doing the same thing to Evan. Because what we saw last weekend, and we're going to talk about that when we move in to our 8 o'clock hour and start talking about college football, is I don't think anybody saw, and again, we'll talk more about it in a moment, but it is true. When that pride comes out, you start really thinking that you are all that. Now, we've got one guy that's very confident right now. I don't know if it's pride. We've got one guy that's very
it's pride. It's pride.
It's very pride. Put that on a t-shirt. He probably will. But yeah, pride, you got to be sure you don't get too far ahead of the horse because things can look bad for you. I don't believe in karma. I don't believe in karma. I think things happen. I don't think it's karma. I just think
Things do happen. That is true.
That is.
Ain't no doubt.
Ain't no doubt that things happen.
I think there's a lot more going on happening out there all the time.
Yes, very behind the scenes stuff. But you think about it. So, what was your response to this Evan person? That's Harris.
I had no response
Because you really couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was a terrible performance.
Because at the moment,
it deserved to be mocked.
Because at the moment, the party school that everybody said, "Oh, don't go to Southwest Texas State," or it's been like a bunch of different names. Now Texas State, don't go there. Your kids don't want to go there. It's a party school.
Yeah,
they all are.
Well, they
How did you? Well, tell you what, we're going to move into.
They also all make more money than me. All my friends who went to Texas State make a lot of money. So
there you go. Maybe you
maybe
should.
in football and life.
There you go. So, as we move into the 8 o'clock hour, brought to you by Coleman County State Bank, head over to ColemanBank.com to check out all your mortgage needs and all your banking needs. But we're going to move into the 8 o'clock hour. When we come back, we're going to talk about Prime and how the things in Boulder are definitely exciting. And the folks in the Big 12 had a rough outing. And the Pac-12 that we thought was the Pac table for 3 had a really good weekend. We'll be back and move into the 8 o'clock hour right after this.
This one, the Pac-12 did go undefeated in the opening weekend, and yet they're still.
Yet they don't exist. So really, that was just Big 12 doing good things.
Yeah.
Big 12 and Big 10 doing, and ACC doing good stuff.
That's honestly how I thought about it. Like when Utah and Colorado won, I was like,
Yeah.
this is just makes the Big 12 better. I mean, like they might not be there.
It makes the people that are there nervous.
Yeah.
Like Tech. It's ECU. I think SMU Oklahoma game this weekend could be good. Oklahoma needs to score them. Like
We're still talking.
Yeah, that was quick. Think of one of y'all. Yes, there's a lot of crime ordinances. I'm sorry. Well, I don't know what kind of order. Oh, you tell me. Well, I'd like to spend 3. Oh, no, you can never go with that. You go to Shacks.
What I always thought was funny is you would send in your paperwork for like pre-approval, like a trip shop or not. Every time I've done that, they would pre-approve me for some amount that they're
Right, yeah.
like,
All right, everybody, who do y'all have? We'll talk a little bit later. Who do y'all have winning the Super Bowl? We got some. I know Lauren put in. Hey, if you're watching right now, go to our Facebook page. We'll give you an exemption because we don't have it revealed Josh's picks yet. He doesn't even know I'm doing this right now. So go to our Facebook page. Look at the games that we got for the Beat the Bear, Hodge Pack Pick'em. Go check it out on our Facebook page. There's 10 games you can pick. You've got time. Email them to hodgepacksports@gmail.com. we'll mess with Josh a little bit. We've already got a lot of people that got picks in. Maybe you didn't get in last week. That's okay. You can get in today. So put those in, but you got them in before we do our picks. We've got our special guest pick. The special guest celebrity picker coming a little bit later. We'll reveal that person's name in a moment. But if you want to get in on the picking, go to it right now. So, Facebook page. Look at those 10 games. Pick your winners. Send them to hodgepacksports@gmail.com. Because we haven't made our picks yet. Nobody's seen Josh's picks yet. So you still have a little bit of time. So get those in pretty quick. Because once we do our picks, it doesn't count anymore. So, who do you have win the Super Bowl? Appreciate folks that are watching. Anyway, we're about to be back and talk some college football. Prime time, unbelievable. We got that ready. Come back here with that. So, anyway, appreciate y'all being here. Don't forget to download, subscribe, rate, and review. If you're watching on Facebook, appreciate it. Also, go like our and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got different stuff there that you can see. Follow us on Twitter at Hodge Pack on Twitter. A lot of places to find the Hodge Pack. So if you want to we got hats you can get from our buddies from Texadize. We've got some other stuff coming up soon. So appreciate y'all. We're about to come back on air. But check it out, Pest Patrol right now, 673-6700. Text them, tell them you heard it from the Hodge Pack, and they'll get if you got any bugs that you need to get rid of. But we're moving into our 8 o'clock hour, brought to you by Coleman County State Bank. Head over to colemanbank.com as well. So, well, because it's Coleman Bank, I don't want to put Coleman State Bank because you won't find it.
Maybe find somebody else.
No, we don't want that. Here's y'all's new spot.
Send a new one. No one tells me.
Welcome back to the Hodge Pack. I don't know if you're ready to go to work. You all ready to go to work after listening to Prime?
Oh, I'm ready.
It's pretty good.
He is pretty good.
Motivational.
He is very motivational as we move into our 8 o'clock hour brought to you by Coleman County State Bank. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, 11 o'clock game. People were not doing anything. People did play golf. I mean, some of y'all probably did, but it was a big day in Fort Worth, and it was such a big day when Deion came out of the locker room. Somebody was following all the deal. And so last week, week 1 of college football, and TCU losing to the Buffaloes. And what do we take? Overreaction, underreaction? What are we going to look at? We'll just look at that game and what Coach Prime, what people thought. We asked Coach Wardis if he was ready for it. Coach Wardis, I'm not real sure. He didn't think he was. But what did you take away? Brent, you're our guest host this morning. Appreciate you. What did you take away just from Coach Prime in that game alone? And then we'll look at the whole landscape of the weekend after that.
Well, on the one hand, I think that he's operating under a completely new model here, and I think it worked. It's only been 1 week, but I think it really just demonstrates that college football, as we once knew it, doesn't exist. And every year's a new year, and his model probably would. Deion Sanders could not have been a successful football coach 15 years ago, as far as building a long-term program and whatnot, because these flashy motivational things like he's doing right there, that's great, but there's no substance. But it's kind of like it's like college basketball became whenever the one and done deal happened. It's every year's a brand new year, and you don't have to build the cohesive unit. You just got to get a group of guys. You got to get them fired up for 11, 12 games, and that's it. And so that's what I take on that side. And I love it. I will miss the old aspects of college football, but I also like the fact that it's going to be more wide open. Just because what you've been in past years, basically you don't have to be a constant blue chipper to have a chance to have any one good year. Now,
You
that
can have a
also means
TCU. I mean, you can have TCU. That's basically what TCU
exactly.
was last year.
Well, that's what I take on the other side. I think maybe TCU is probably just not as good as they were last year. They were great last year, and as I mentioned last week when I wasn't on the show, but I was texting y'all, I think that they have a lot to prove. That wasn't just a flash in the pan, and they didn't do a good job week one.
Well, and that's really my takeaway in the whole of college football, and in this game in particular, because, like you mentioned, the transfer portal thing becoming such a integral part of building a team. You don't know what any given team really has. You don't have the typical, like, all right, we'll build on this. We got this many starters back. We have this guy played, this many snaps last year. He's stepping in to take over for that guy that left. You don't have all of that. So it makes it very difficult, as our pick'em showed last week, where results, mine were bad. That goes back to my Proverbs 16:18. But everybody's were bad. So it's hard to even know what's going on year to year, and so we don't know right now if Colorado is really good or if TCU is really bad.
Well, and
you don't
we
know.
also-
Like,
I don't want to cut you off, Hodge, so that I don't get to hear your thoughts on the specific game. But looking at the Baylor Texas State game, Baylor's played Texas State. This is 3 years in a row now, and the team we played last weekend is not the same team that we played last year.
And so I'll tie those back in because Colorado and Dion had 86 new players. The other team that had the newest players, the second most, was Texas State. And so with this new thing of college football, you go get these guys. I mean, it is.
And you can pay them.
And you look at Kim Mulkey, her national championship she just won with LSU. She had almost everybody new except for like 3 girls. And when you bring in studs, it's like when you bring in an all-star team, if you will, and replace the team that wasn't the all-star team that was on your roster then, you can't be good. And so when I look at this and we look at what Dion, there's been so much hype leading into it. And there's been some haters, doubters, whatever you want to put it in there. Haters going to hate, Taylor Swift, shake it off. But Primetime has had so much pressure on him, if you will. Is he just a hype? And we heard Coach Cates last week say he is one of the most genuine people when he coached his son and Marcus, but he turns it on. And it's like a WWE character. When he gets in front of that camera, when he gets in front of that microphone and that podium, he's going to bring an interview like it would be a promo for WWE. And so what we're going to see, and that's the thing about overreaction, Duke destroys Clemson. And next thing you know, Paul Feinbaum is saying that the Dabo's dynasty's over. Then you look at this coming week. What win is Dion going to have to say it is legit? Because we beat a Power 5 in TCU. We went on the road. And the other thing that I was impressed with, they put up a ton of stats. I mean, the numbers that Sanders had at quarterback was unbelievable. But you start looking at week 2, now Nebraska. Here comes Nebraska. Because the other thing about that game, and I wanted to mention, was a lot of times when the underdog is winning and then the other guy comes back and the 20-point favorite goes ahead, they normally wither away.
Right.
I mean, they went punch for punch and got the last punch to win 45-42. Now Nebraska comes to town. The ticket price was more expensive for Saturday's game in Boulder than last night's KC game. Like, you could pay $120, go watch the Chiefs Lions last night. It was like $320 was the lowest price ticket for Boulder tomorrow. Now let's take over the whole college world. The Big 12, Texas had a now this week has got a lot of games. We'll get to those big in a minute. But the Pac-12 went undefeated, and we'll see what that goes for. We mentioned the Texas Tech had a rough outing. You talk about pride become before, or everybody just getting on the bandwagon and talking trash. A lot of Tech fans love Joe McGuire, love Coach McGuire. We were building the statue. They lose last week, and the the Red Raider fans just went nuts.
Yes, as they should, because obviously it happened to Baylor too. But you're not supposed to lose the first game of the year when you are the big dog and you're playing the
You paid them to come to your school millions of dollars so that you could beat them.
Yes.
And then they beat you.
So
The
it's
good thing is Tech probably wouldn't get paid. That probably wouldn't pay him.
well, yeah, because Tech did go on the road, which was interesting to go to.
But Texas State did.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I think that we mentioned the transfer portal and stuff like that, and I've always thought that when this really came to full-fledged fruition, it would be some of those smaller schools and even those FCS schools that benefit quite a bit from it, because used to with how stuck players were and how difficult the transfer process was, or maybe losing some eligibility, or having to get released and by your current team,
Right.
and things
The
like
six
that.
best quarterbacks in the state of Texas would go to Texas. I mean, not really.
Right,
But,
right, but there'd
and
be
then
several.
5 of them sit on the bench.
Yeah, and then Alabama would have 4-star cornerbacks that never saw the field, just because they were that far down the depth chart. Now those guys can make decisions, like, do I want to stay and play for this program? Is this really where I want to be? Do I want to be a backup here? Or do I want to go somewhere else and start? And so,
Yeah.
And
Just
they-
imagine if Major Applewhite could have gone somewhere else his senior year.
yeah, right after he got benched, for Sims. So that I think will make some of those, they're called mid majors, I guess, in basketball. But that equivalent, some of the lesser known, but I can go there and play, and I can start this year.
Well, and the transfer portal now will make. Obviously, I don't think anybody's going to come get Dion's kids, literally his kids that play on his team or the other ones. But now, if Wyoming, let's say Wyoming gets rolling, Texas State gets rolling, I've got to be worried now that if I'm those coaches, that my kids are going to be the ones that, hey,
oh yeah,
good job. You played really good for Wyoming. You helped them beat Tech.
They
You
almost
played really
become-
good for Texas State.
That is the flip of the coin. They can have that one, those seasons that are good, like you mentioned, like it'll be a year-to-year thing. Because if you go to, like an ACU, for example, and you really have a really standout year, you were maybe undersized coming out of high school, or came from a smaller school, didn't get that hype. Then you're like, well, let's get our back channels over there and see if we got a maybe a booster that wants to go, talk to this kid or that kid's dad, or or
The
whatever.
consequence of this may be, though, that especially as the conferences were realigning and getting so much larger, you may just stop seeing early season games between the major conferences and the smaller
Group of fives.
the group of 5 conferences.
Yeah.
You may just,
And-
as a Baylor fan, I mean, I was already saying, why are we playing Texas State every year? Before this happened, I didn't expect to lose, but I also said, why do we keep playing them? This is a no-win situation for us, and if we keep doing it, we keep playing with fire, we may get burned.
Right.
And you did get burned. And
And my whole body's now covered in 30-degree burns.
yes, and so, but the other thing about that is, I think you start looking at it. ACU is going to go play A&M at the end of the year. Where does that money come from? Now, do you raise that $1 million somewhere else that you were getting? I mean, it's like a fundraiser for a nonprofit. If the JA golf tournament goes away, you got to. Well, where do we get that money from?
Right.
If the Noah Project golf tournament goes away, where do we get that money from? And so, we're going to come back because, and I want to talk about just overall the weekend in college
Let's
football.
carry this over.
Because when we come back more over the weekend, because there's so much that happened, and that overreaction stuff is Clemson done. They did in the second half, they didn't score or kick a field. They didn't do anything. They didn't punt or put points on the board in the second half because they gave it up and all those things. When we come back, more college football as the Big 12 now again. Tech's got a big game. Baylor's got a big game. It's not getting any easier for for the folks that were having the old pride before the fall. We'll do that. I don't know if I can keep doing chorizo. Chorizo and Dr. Pepper gets the old burn on it.
I love chorizo, but for that very reason, I decide why I just get bacon. It's I mean, they're both very fatty, but in the chorizo, the grease has completely separated itself from the meat.
Well, you know very well. When you start opening up which ones are which, when you see that orange coming out the back, you know that's definitely chorizo. Of your season tickets were you there? You weren't there, were you?
I was not there for that game. I will be there tomorrow. I actually did go to Waco last week. I went and set up my tailgate spot Friday night and then stayed the night there Friday night and drove back Saturday. But I will be there. I'm going tonight and I'll be there tomorrow. Yes. Tailgating starting at 8 a.m. Have a single extra ticket if anyone's interested.
We had fun going to the game tomorrow, like originally. My sister had tickets for it.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that.
But we got.
She decided she wanted to. Right?
No, that did happen before. But this game tomorrow, yeah, the boys have a flight football game at 10 to go, so it's just like.
What time is that game tomorrow?
11. So. Couldn't make it.
Yeah, 11 a.m. games, which is most of what Baylor plays,
Yeah.
are so hard to make it to.
I sent you two other Warren, and did you get David Doan's picks?
I hadn't looked at it. I don't need to look at it until after I did yesterday. And I made my picks and looked at them, but then it's like I didn't next week.
You don't have. I didn't send you my picks, right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. I couldn't remember if I had it or not.
But next week, let's just not do. I don't want to know anybody's picks until we're sitting in here, and I want them to email so after. Because I can start gaming or like saying, yes, well, everyone's going to pick this. I just need to pick that. Like,
You got a cheat, Josh.
if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
What about Mac Brown winning his 100th game at Texas?
You would see.
That's what I meant. And I do think they've got that receiver that the NCAA denying his return. I think that's kind of crappy. Y'all go to the fair, or y'all anti-fair?
I'm anti-fair. I don't know if the rest.
I'm anti-fair, but I will end up going because my kids will go.
Yeah.
Oh, simmer down section. Stuff that simmer down. That's what we're going to do next. Things like that are overreaction stuff. Welcome back to the Hodge Pack, rocking and rolling our 8 o'clock hours. We continue to talk some college football. We'll be making the move to the NFL as week 1 happened last night, kicked off with the Detroit Lions winning 21-20. And we've got our first Dallas Cowboy game Sunday night as the Texas Rangers. Well, hopefully they'll win Sunday too. But the Dallas Cowboys radio network right here Sunday night as the Cowboys will be at New York at the Giants trying to get to be 1-0, just like the Detroit Lions, their fellow Thanksgiving partner people. But we wanted to talk about overreaction of the college football weekend. So what are some things that you took away that are maybe one of those either overreaction either way, Brent?
Well, I've certainly overreacted, I think, to the Baylor's loss last weekend in Bradenton. At the end of that game, I was ready to sell my season tickets and burn down my tailgate spot and never return again. But I think there's a chance.
Why don't you just simmer down on that?
like
Just
salt-
simmer down.
salt
You
the
don't
earth
need to
on
throw
your way
everything
out.
away yet, Brent. But yes, Baylor had a rough outing.
But I'll be there tomorrow. It'll be okay.
So he's going to be just fine. But unfortunately, Utah's coming to town, so he may not be real fine. And we'll hear his picks later on if he stays homeward to it or not. Josh, a couple of news that came out of last week. Mac Brown winning 100 games at UNC. He's done it obviously at Texas and UNC. Really cool that Drake kid, really good. I think UNC may have a chance to win that. What are some things you took away from week 1 of college football?
Well, one of those things that there seems to be a lot of reaction to is the Florida State victory over LSU, which, I had LSU kind of in that mix that I thought they might be able to take that step and go to the playoff. I ended up picking Alabama instead, and so we'll see how that goes. But that was a pretty much just a shellacking, So, but then again, it goes back to you could overreact either way. If you could say LSU's just not that good, or you could say Florida State is primed to win a national championship. So either way, it's an overreaction, I think, because there's a lot of football left, and it's just hard to know. But there is a lot of Florida State bandwagon that's getting full right now.
But what you're talking about, Willis, is I agree, but it's also good that Florida State is back relevant. Somebody had mentioned on,
Especially with Clemson not appearing to not be as good. ACC needs somebody.
I'm going to tell you, simmer down on Clemson right now. Simmer down, because I think they're going to be fine. They can still run the table. They got Florida State on the schedule. They have Notre Dame on the schedule. So Clemson has a chance to maybe run the table, get in, and show some what people thought the Cuba kid would be from Boston Westlake. But we'll see. And we're starting to see the overreaction is Oklahoma back. I mean, I don't know. They scored 66 on Arkansas State, but I think that SMU game tomorrow gives SMU an opportunity to say, hey, we're going to go to the ACC. We can compete against somebody like OU. So I think that's an important game tomorrow.
I believe you on that.
But when you start looking at it, 2 of my Final Four are, if I was going to simmer down and, walk off the plank or whatever, LSU and Clemson both losing in fashions that were very ugly. Again, Clemson in the second half did not punt or score in the second half, but get blown out by Duke. Did y'all see it where the kid asked for an extension on his assignment and he got denied because his other teammates did just fine? So kids, don't procrastinate. That's another knowing is half the battle. And so, anyway, just a lot of fun, and I love the fact that we're full throttle college football right now.
Oh yeah, it Saturday mornings are more fun when you're like getting ready to start the day of football. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, college game day and all the things are fantastic. And so as we start making that move from college football, all right, real quick, your thoughts. Some people aren't. I'm a fan. Are you a fan of Pat McAfee now on college game day? Thoughts?
I've always been a fan of Pat McAfee, so yes.
I am too. And he's now on ESPN. His show's on ESPN. They've got it delayed just in case he gets a little crazy, which he can. Josh, fan, are you a college game day watcher? I mean, we got some that are virtual people.
Well, no, we turn it on. We turn college game day on every Saturday. Last Saturday, I did not watch intently. Like it was on, and I paid a little bit of attention. I was surprised, but the Pat McAfee particularly is one of those guys that I find him at times, like entertaining, but it's kind of a stick that sometimes I'm like, yeah, but
WWE reminds me of Deion.
yeah, but to the point of like him being on regular air, it is interesting because if you've ever stumbled upon his show that was on Sirius XM, it was not really for the faint of heart. Like it was definitely not something you want to accidentally turn on if your children are in the car.
Oh no, that's why they were delaying it on TV.
But
Major FCC violations.
Yes, because of the F.
yeah,
Because
so
of the F.
having somebody, and who knows what other personalities that we see that are always in places that they have to maintain decorum, how they talk off the air, but it's like, how do you
Like
rate
me on this radio show.
Yeah, you have no idea what Brent's going to say.
Oh, well, you don't. But for him to have to rein in that persona to make it PG, is
Well, and the other thing, because there are people that their stick is annoying. Like
Yeah.
Skip Bayless is
Yeah,
annoying.
yes,
Some people think Stephen A. Smith is annoying. Shannon Sharp, annoying. But I enjoy Pat McAfee, and so we'll see tomorrow morning, College Game Day. Now, let's move to the NFL because we've got a lot to cover because Week 1 is here. It happened last night again. Detroit is now undefeated. They can go 17-0. There's probably never been anybody go 17-0 because we've added games. But there's probably never been anybody that went 0 for and then somehow went undefeated. But I don't see that happening before the Lions. That's definitely Detroit going undefeated is definitely need to simmer down on that right now. So
yes.
as we start talking about the NFL, Josh, we kick everything off this weekend. Who are some of your folks? What are you looking into? Let's go. Who's your Super Bowl? Who makes the Super Bowl for your? Who do you think makes the Super Bowl?
I don't know. I think that there is a lot of moving parts that makes that very difficult. I would still probably say in the AFC, I still put the Chiefs as a strong possibility, and then I also still think the Bills have just been like a few plays away from several seasons of like kind of riding the ship and taking that next step. So it's kind of tough, but I don't think the Jets will. There's a lot of hype with the Jets. I don't buy that hype. We'll see, but we'll go Bills, and then on the NFC side, it's just I want to be a homer and say the Cowboys, but it's like then you're just like the typical Super Bowl or bust Dallas Cowboys fan. I don't think that's
It is what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Are you agreeing on the Bills side?
Yes. So I agree. I think it's going to be one of those two teams, the Chiefs or the Bills. I would really like it to be the Bills because I like the whole Bills mafia and the culture they've got going and everything. But I feel like we're talking about a team that's got a quarterback that's got a lot of pressure on them this year. I feel like if they've made it deep in the playoffs, so it's not like Josh Allen is like Tony Romo that he can't get a playoff win. So he's made it deep, but teams only have a certain window, and they're bumping up against their window.
Their expectations are rising.
They're going to start losing.
And see, I think they're running out. I think the Buffalo Bills, like the water, very like the Rangers, they're running out of time. They're running out of steam. The runway's getting shorter for them because now you have to start worrying about salary caps and contracts and all that. So he's having a hard time.
Not because of the Buffalo Bills, but I do have a Buffalo tattoo on my left arm that I would really like to flex in favor of them winning.
There you go.
I was flexing it for Colorado last weekend, but
all right, so you got
anyway.
So you got the Bills.
They do.
Bills, and who do you have in the NFC? Because Josh is right.
NFC is so wide open. I just don't know. I don't know what to say in the NFC.
So here's my thing on it. I think the AFC is loaded, and I think anybody can win it. What blows my mind is how many people that really think the 49ers are it. And their only reason, and don't get me wrong, they are very talented. And I hope Christian McCaffrey has an incredible year. But do we really know what Brock Purdy's going to do on year 2? Is Sam Darnold going to end up? I heard Greeny say it this week. Sam Darnold's probably going to start a playoff game for the 49ers, and he's been bounced around everywhere. And so I don't think the 49ers are it. The team that you think should go, talent alone, should be the Eagles. But the reason I don't think the Eagles are going to make it is it's hard to get back to a Super Bowl. Very rarely does the people that lose go back. And so I don't think it's going to be the Eagles. And it is frustrating because it's like the reason I've said all along that I hate that Case Keenum's from Abilene, but I think the Minnesota Vikings made a bad decision when they went to the NFC Championship and decided to send Case packing and bring in Kirk Cousins. Now I'm a fan of Kirk Cousins, brother in Christ. I never met him in person, but I'll get to see him in heaven because we're watching the quarterback. He loves Jesus. All those things. But I think the Cowboys have a legit people outside of the 3-2-5, outside of Texas. If you were to say the Cowboys are going to make the Super Bowl, I think you've got plenty of reason to do so.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I do think that the NFC Eagles, 49ers, and Cowboys, I think, are those three teams that I would say have the most legitimate shot going in. The Cowboys have not proven that they can do it. Obviously, with the Tony Romo disease just kind of, I guess, trickling on down to Dak.
Lingering around.
And then the 49ers, you have Purdy coming back from the injury, the guy, the Mr. Irrelevant that ends up, riding the hot hand into the playoffs. But can he repeat? Does the league figure him out? Is that sustainable? And so there's question marks in those places. And really, the only question mark with Philadelphia is, like you mentioned, it's hard to make the Super Bowl in general. It's very difficult to make it back to back. So just kind of the odds are against that happening. But they're still really good. And much to my chagrin, Jalen Hurts is a pretty good quarterback. I mean, like.
All right, so we're going to come back and talk full-fledged Cowboys in the NFL. But who do you have? I've got Cowboys and Jags.
I have to abstain because I can't say what I would say without jumping out a window.
Okay, so we don't want him to jump out.
You said I shouldn't say this, but I think I've got 49ers and Chiefs.
49ers Chiefs replay with that. So when we come back, we're going to dive straight in. Nothing but Dallas Cowboys, and then we've got our celebrity guest picker. Can't wait for you to hear from her a little bit later and talk about where she actually works. Never mind. That's an inside joke. We're going to leave that alone. We'll come back with the Dallas Cowboys right after this.
What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
Where do you actually work?
Well, I was going to say, you said something about somebody had to say
Oh, yeah. I got introduced at a Kiwanis luncheon as the director of Big Boys and Big Girls. Instead of Big Brothers and Sisters, Big Boys, Boys and Girls Club, and Big Boys and Big Girls. Pat, thanks for inviting me. Me, who knows nothing about other than I'm married to
A footballer.
a footballer.
So,
I like to give them a hard time like that.
so what we'll do is we'll got one more segment, and then we'll come back and we'll do picks to end the show. And so, you have the games down to pick.
I do.
There's some.
Brought your notes.
I
Does
consulted.
husband help?
No.
Oh,
I talked with one of our former little brothers who's playing football at Abilene Christian right now. At AC, Abilene Christian High School.
Oh, there you go.
Make the
That has a awesome new facility, which I'm sure you see when you drop your kids off. Your kids still go there?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, because your wife teaches there. But that facility's awesome
Yeah.
sucks to be the racing team, but
because there's no locker room.
There's like
bleachers.
a bleacher.
Yeah. Not the best time.
Bleacher.
Yeah, there's like a bench. You just sit on the bench with the team.
Yeah.
You're visiting. Yeah.
Well, it's real
You get
easy.
water from
If you don't have a whole lot, it's like basketball. Those smaller schools that carry 7. All right, is everybody on the floor? Count. 2 are here. Yeah, we're good. We could even cut the Cowboys a little short. But so I guess what your storyline is for the Cowboys and then for the year. Like a lot of people were listening. One of the things I was listening to was that Russell Wilson's going to get back on track for the Hall of Fame. You've heard I don't know if y'all caught my Super Bowl pick. I've got the Jags making.
Yeah, I heard you say that, and that
You weren't real sure I meant it?
yeah, that felt out of sorts.
I do think they're pretty good.
The division's not very good.
I have no doubt about that.
I think Calvin Ridley's going to say, bet on me. If I was him when I scored, I'd say, bet on me. That's why I got in trouble last year. You got that?
I don't think that's advised.
You don't think so?
No.
He doesn't have to bet on himself, but he said.
I don't see what's wrong with betting on yourself. Don't bet against yourself. That's a problem. But I think you should be allowed to bet on yourself.
I actually agree with that.
Like what?
If
I'm
you're-
trying to win anyway.
I'm not
You didn't
throwing
think I
the
was
game.
trying to win before?
Yeah, if he do or
Now he's really trying to win because he's bet on himself. But
Now, the only way that would be bad is if you bet on yourself to have more rushing touchdowns than passing, and as a quarterback, you just ran the ball all the time. No matter how wide open the receiver was. Sorry, I got to get this. Maybe needs a new pair of shoes.
yeah.
There's too many prop bets. Like,
Well,
I bet I
if
hit
you-
somebody in
if
the
you're betting
stands.
On prop bets, you definitely could.
Also, if you
manipulate that.
if the game was over but you went ahead and scored again to beat the
Spread,
spread.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there's some issues there.
But I'm still trying to bet on myself to be successful. I'm not throwing the fight or throwing an interception on purpose. So I think it's all legal. Bet on yourself. Just kidding. Well, actually, you can bet on yourself. Just I don't know. We're live. It's happening.
Bet on yourself.
Don't bet against yourself. Be better. I really like to simmer down and what you're talking about was. I gave that buzz.
I'm glad you're glad.
I'm glad. Welcome back. Here we are, rocking and rolling. We're real close to introducing our celebrity guest picker, our Oh You Didn't Know. She may not think she's a celebrity, but she is definitely a celebrity here in the big city of Abilene and making a difference in children's hearts all across the big country. And so we'll be introducing her shortly. And she brought some swag, and I'm rocking it. So if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, you can try to interpret it and guess what we're wearing. Can you tell what it stands for, Josh?
Yes, I can.
Right? Can you tell?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I recognize that.
There you go. And we're going to talk about that logo in a moment. But we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Josh, it's here. Dallas Cowboy Radio Network. Brad, Babe, as well as Christy Scales will be joining us on the airwaves Sunday night as the Cowboys take on the New York Giants. I want to take a moment and say happy birthday. Got a big party tomorrow for my little buddy Dixon Sykes. So happy birthday to Dixon. So happy birthday, buddy. And I hope you get a Dallas Cowboy victory for your birthday. I might do a cannonball tomorrow on your pool. You want to see that?
No.
Okay, nobody. All right, if we get enough votes, and all you got to do is outvote Josh, I'll do a cannonball. So, but the Dallas Cowboys, Brent, where are you voting?
You're going to do it anyway, so it doesn't
Okay.
matter.
Oh.
I mean, you're going to do it.
No, I'm not that cheap. Yeah. All right, anyway, Dallas Cowboys, here we go. Rocking and rolling. Josh, what are your predictions? What do you want to see from the Dallas Cowboys Sunday night? Not for the season, just Sunday night. What do you need to see? Because there's a lot of people, and I think you may even said, the Giants are going to be better.
Yeah.
They've added Darren Waller. Can he stay healthy? Saquon got his deal done. He's got some incentives. He's got to be good. Daniel Jones is playing on some big money. So Sunday night, familiar foes on the road. What do you want to see Sunday night when people are listening to it on KLGD?
What I'm looking forward to the most this season, that like truly looking forward to it, anticipating, is seeing this defense play the way that they, the stars that are there, obviously Michael Parsons and Diggs, with the
And don't forget Adam Gilmore.
yeah, well, yeah, that obviously, and then Van Der Esch, who everyone was super excited about a few years ago, that kind of took the second fiddle, but he's still out there making plays. Like the safety core is probably the best it's been in a long time. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that hits the field and goes. So that's what I'm most excited about. Big defensive plays, and then like obviously Dak is always the talk of everything. For whatever reason, it's if you turn on any sort of national sports stuff that's talking football, Dak will come up, and whether he can continue to live up to the hype or just kind of be a second tier quarterback, but his record against NFC East teams is outstanding.
That is true.
And so and especially the Giants. So if I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm not going to misquote, but look them up. The Giants have a very hard time beating Dak Prescott.
What do you want to see Sunday?
I want to see on that same vein. I want to see if Dak Prescott is going to return to what he was. He made him good when he was a younger quarterback, which is being a dual threat. He's got to throw, obviously, and he can. But if his legs aren't a threat, then he's mediocre. And ever since his foot got turned sideways, he's been scared to run or been making a business decision not to run. So I'm just interested to see if he's going to go back to what made him a arguably great quarterback, or he's just going to stay mediocre.
Well, and I'm anxious to see what kind of, we talked about players that go to new places that need a fresh start. I'm anxious to see what I want to see Sunday night is that Brandon Cooks is a great addition.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Brandon Cooks be able to open up CD Lamb and help CD Lamb. And also a guy that we don't talk about enough that we forget, I think, is still on the roster, and that's Michael Gallup. That I want to see that Brandon Cooks, who people would draft him and was a beneficial from a fantasy football standpoint, I want to see Brandon Cooks be that guy.
Well, and you mentioned Gallup, and I think one thing that is not talked about enough. His year was down last year. His return was delayed, but he had that ACL surgery, and I think historically, this is just anecdotal, so like we could figure out some examples, I guess, but like historically, people that have those major type long recovery injuries that are out for 8, 10, 12 months, a lot of times that first year back does not go well, and so I think that he has that opportunity to be that threat that pushes the field like he was 2 years ago or 3. I guess it was 2 years ago.
With COVID in there, you can't ever remember when you played.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's all falls together. But he was at one time opening up the defense by stretching the field. We didn't really have that last year. He wasn't able to do that, and maybe he's back to form this year.
So again, the Dallas Cowboys Sunday night football right here on 106.9 The Country Giant. Be sure you're tuning in and part of the Dallas Cowboy Radio Network. When we come back, we'll have our Oh You Didn't Know celebrity guest picker. We'll talk about her great organization and the difference she's making and her folks are making in the community. And we'll let her pick some football games, and we'll let you know that Hodge beat Josh. And who? Oh, it's great stuff. We'll be back right after this. All right, so all the marks. So I would lift it up. We'll let.
I'll let you have the spot.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna give you this. Anybody's curious?
I'm Talon.
So we haven't got a fourth.
Dylan's wife,
I know.
So we'll talk. Big brothers, big sisters. Just all that. Give you a plug, anything coming up, and then we'll roll into the big.
This is perfect timing. We're running a men's campaign right now, 30 minutes, 30 days. So it's like great timing.
I worked at First.
And then you'll just need to come up and probably share that with
Also was on the KA board with Dylan.
Okay.
So I've known him for a while.
Yeah.
I ran out of time there. I really wanted to give my bold prediction of what I see for the whole season.
Well, we can do that because there's some of these games. Let's talk that while we have commercial.
It's a very bold prediction.
Real quick, I
It's
know.
outlandish.
Does anybody not have? Those are really good games. All right, 49ers Steelers. We'll be able to zoom through that.
Well, you've got the Steelers.
I know that, but which is fine. I mean, we could.
There's not a game on here that is not already contested, and we don't have their picks.
So when we come back, when we talk about the Cowboys pick, you give that bold prediction.
Molly picked exactly the same as me, and I didn't even know that. Originally, she said Baylor was going to win, and then she crawfished on that.
So you're not going to have to write anything down but talents.
And Brent's. Where's Brent going to pick?
I'll pick.
Yes, Brent's picking.
Well, then.
He's got to pick.
Okay.
Requirement.
Okay.
Why don't you give him your picks while we do
Looking
this?
now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take Jeanette, Utah. This is just straight up, right?
Yes. No spread.
Oregon, A&M, Alabama, ACU, 49ers, Eagles, Jets, Cowboys.
Total points.
77 points.
Okay.
Well, welcome back to the Hodge Pack Sports Life and everything in between. We're glad that you're with us. We're getting ready to roll into our pick'em session, but it's time to introduce our Oh You Didn't Know celebrity guest picker, and joining us in our Potosi Live studio is Talon Cobb from Big Brothers Big Sisters. We do not want to misquote that. You can ask us off air or somewhere else about that. But Talon, thank you for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So are you excited? I know you're excited about talking about Big Brothers Big Sisters. We're going to get into that moment in a moment. Are you excited to be our celebrity guest picker and pick some football?
I'm so excited. I am so out of my realm. I don't have an audience in front of me, and I don't know anything about football other than I'm married to somebody that could.
Well, there you go. And based on some of our folks that did some picking last week, including Josh, he may not know it either. I feel really good because I'm the one thrown under the bus, and you don't like it, do you?
Well, I mean, turnabout's fair play.
There you go.
But you're getting awful haughty over there for a 2-point win.
Hey, prime time on 1x3. I'm pretty sure my pride will come before the fall week this weekend. So anyway, Talon, again, thank you for being here. Tell our listeners, I mean, we've seen Big Brothers Big Sisters. There's been commercials. We've been growing up. We've seen it. We've heard stories, success of. I grew up at Big Brothers Big Sisters. Talk a little bit about the success and what the ministry and your organization does.
Yeah, so the core of Big Brothers Big Sisters is one-to-one mentoring. It is that simple. We pair an adult that can be consistent in the life of a child with a child, and the goal is to keep them matched for as long as possible, starting at 6 years old. We roll out the programs when they're 18. So through this one-to-one mentoring program, we see improvements in self-confidence, academic success. We see them less likely to participate in risky behaviors. I mean, we're providing people that will step into be role models and mentors for our young people in Abilene. We've been around for 45 years now, and we just get stronger every single year.
And so of course, educate, where do they meet? Do they go to the school? Do they do activities? How would folks that get paired up, how does that work? And has things gotten a whole lot better, I would hope, since post-Rona?
Yes, finally. So we have two different ways that our mentors can hang out with the kids. And mentors are called bigs, our kids are called littles. So one way is through a site-based match. The big goes to the little school campus during their lunch period. They sit and have lunch together once a week. Lunches are about 20 to 30 minutes. And in that time period, you can accomplish a lot. The other match is community-based. Our community-based program is exactly what the word is. You're out in the community, you're going and doing things. My husband, Dylan, loves to go watch his little brother play football now that he's at Abilene High. But they would go to sporting events, just go hang out together, go to the grocery store. I like to take my little sister out to ice cream, karaoke together at my office a couple of weeks ago, just the two of us. So we're out in the world doing things together.
So what are a couple of success stories that you could share, maybe, that you're seeing, that life-changing change, if you will, that might challenge and encourage our listeners to go be a big brother?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ones. It's hard to just land on one. I'll start with the younger spectrum. Kids in our programs are graduating from high school with a vision of what they want to do with their lives. So there's one huge thing, and that's just kids in general. Some adult success stories. I can think of a few local people here in Abilene that are now into their 40s that were littles in our program and are thriving. They're in leadership roles and positions and actively giving back towards the community. And they have said to me personally that it was because of this program they felt like they had a chance at life. They had a chance to be something bigger than what they knew from their family experience. And then a great success story, one of our former board members, Lucinda, was matched with his little brother over 30 years ago, and they're still doing holidays together. We just celebrated his little brother's 50th birthday with him, so it's a lifelong friendship, and you just bring into the fold another person into your family, and help them see a path forward.
That's pretty cool. So what's something you want to plug before we start picking games?
Yes, it seems fitting for this show in particular that I plug that September we are running a campaign called 30 Men in 30 Days. The majority of children on our wait list are little boys, and they need men in their lives. They need male mentors. We are into the first week of September. We have, I think, a male mentor for every single day of the month so far. But we need male mentors in the month of September to come get it.
Awesome. And what's the way they can reach you to do
Yeah, so the best way to do that is to just go to our website, and that's pbbstx.org. Make sure you select West Central Texas. We run all of West Central Texas out of Abilene. And you can apply to be a big. You can learn more information. You can find our contact information on the website.
Perfect. And we'll put that on our Facebook page as well, that website, and we'll share it and link it and share it to our folks as well. So, all right, Talon, Brent, get up here and you can share with you rock, paper, scissors. All right, let's get into the time to pick them. Again, last week, Coach Wardis was not smarter than Molly, so we'll be getting his not smarter than a fifth grader certificate. Unfortunately, Coach Wardis, I am sorry you did not do well. And so Coach Trace Michaels won our pick 'em last week with a tiebreaker. And so again, really the difference maker, and we joked about me winning, was that I did pick Colorado. There were so many games that were out there. The weird things happen, and there may be those this week. So let's dive right into them. The high school game that we have is Jim Netted Wall. Big rival. There's a lot of eighth graders or seniors that were eighth graders that were on the show 4 years ago that are on this team as seniors. I've got Jim Ned winning, not Wall. What does Molly, Misty, and you have?
Well, Molly and Misty both have Jim Ned.
You have?
I have Wall.
All right.
I know that I'm afraid my picks this week are anti Abilene favorites.
There you go.
Some of them I think everyone's agreeing with me, but it's gonna be a tough game. But these are two top 10 teams.
It's not a 100-year rival, but it's a big rival.
Right, and they're both in the top 10 in 3A. So tough matchup. Jim Ned at home. And I will say this, one thing that all our Indian fans out there that are angry that I picked Wall, look at my picks last week. It may be a blessing.
Yes. All right, Brent, who do you have?
I have Jim Ned.
Perfect. Talent?
I have Jim Ned.
All right, there you go. Indians all around except for the Wall guy wearing green today. All right, moving on. Utah Baylor. Brent, you're going to be there tomorrow. You're going to really hope that the upset train changes directions and goes to the Baylor side, because if this is an upset, if Baylor wins, I've got Utah. Who do you got?
I'm taking Utah as well. I'm not foolish enough to get my hopes up.
And you don't want to be not smarter than a fifth grader.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Molly and I both took Utah as well. That's a pick that she originally had Baylor, and she decided to change her mind. Misty took Baylor.
Misty's taking Baylor, all right? Talon? Utah, there you go. Utah rocking and rolling. Here's another one, Oregon and Tech. Oregon coming to the 806. Maybe it'll be 105 to give them a chance. The Red Raiders, sorry, Red Raiders. I like Coach McGuire. I had them pick to win the Big 12, but I still want to continue well on picking. I've got Oregon.
Misty has Tech, and Molly and I have Oregon.
There you go, Brent.
This is all non-conference, so they can still win the Big 12, but I'm taking Oregon.
Oregon.
All right, sorry, Red Raider Nation. It's unfortunate. Texas A&M in Miami. You can listen to that right here on 106.9 The Country Giant tomorrow, 2:30. A&M won last week against New Mexico. They've got heading to the U. Miami, are they back? Another school I think is good for college football. If Miami's good, just like FSU. Brent, we'll start with you.
I'm taking the Aggies.
All right, Talon?
Miami.
All right, what do you got, Josh?
All of my representatives are picking Miami as well.
All right, sorry. We've got one Aggie person, Brent. We appreciate that as a listener here. The next one, Texas and Bama. I was shocked. Evan Harris, you mentioned him earlier. He actually picked Texas. Do you have anybody in your people picking Texas?
No, I do not.
Everybody got Bama, Brent?
Roll Tide.
Alabama, there you go. Only that may be the game that elevates Evan up, because he may be the lone hook 'em guy. ACU and Prairie View. Prairie View A&M used to be the team that never won a game. Do you remember they had like this long streak of losing, like on repeat? I've got Wildcats. Good job, Coach Patterson, winning last week and going on the road. Prairie View A&M. Does anybody got Prairie View A&M?
I think I'm the lone picker of Prairie View. Prairie View winning a tough one last week against Southern in the HU. How do you say
HBC?
that?
HBC.
Yeah, HBCU Classic as they called it, and now they're playing at home. It's hard. It's hard to go on the road and win. So I'm going to Prairie View.
What do you got? ACU all the way around.
ACU.
All right, there we go. Shout out to Moy Garcia of Potosi Live. Get your Potosi Fest tickets. He says, boo, Tech's going to win tonight. All right, or tomorrow. All right, now heading into the NFL, the 49ers and the Steelers. A lot of people think the 49ers are this Super Bowl-bound team. I don't agree. I think Kenny Pickett, there's a chance, even though I've got the Ravens winning the North, I've got the Steelers, and I've got the Steelers going to also make the playoffs. Josh.
I've got the 49ers, as does Missy and Molly, but this was actually the game that I waffled on. The ACU one and this one were the two that I'm like, I don't know which way to go. But I did go 49ers.
I'm changing my pick because I forgot about Kenny Pickett being there. So I'm going to go with the Steelers.
There you go.
I got 49ers.
All right, Talon with the 49ers, keeping rolling. Eagles, Patriots. I've got the Eagles. Missy has the Eagles as well. Will Bill O'Brien help resurrect maybe the career of Mac Jones as the offensive coordinator? Last year he had Pat Patricia, who basically is a defensive guy. What do you got?
We're all Eagles over here.
Brent?
Eagles.
All right, Eagles. Here we roll. We're going to skip that last game. We're going to go to the Bills and Jets. I've got the Jets not making it to the Super Bowl, but I do have the Jets winning that division. I've got the Jets. I think it's going to be an electric night. 9-11 at New York. I think it'll be a big night. Aaron Rodgers and the victory for them. What do y'all got?
Bills.
I knew y'all would do that. There's no way Missy would ever pick against the Bills.
As much as I like the Bills, I'm picking the Jets on this one. I think the old man is going to have a big. It's going to start strong.
There you go, Talon.
I'm going with the Jets.
There we go. Good job, Talon, with the Jets. All right, Cowboys, Giants. Again, you can hear it right here on 106.9 The Country Giant. Before we go, pick or pick, Brent says he has a bold prediction for the Dallas Cowboys season.
I have, yes, my bold prediction for the Cowboys season. Write this down. Dak Prescott is going to get injured. He's going to be missed most of the season. And Trey Lance is going to come in. Cowboys are going to go 13-3. They're going to go to the playoffs. Dak's not going to get to play. What goes around comes around, buddy.
Oh, wow. That is
that
bold.
was very bold.
He did, hey, for the record, Brent did pick Trey Lance to in his fantasy football draft. So I hope he's absolutely wrong, 100% wrong.
We're going to the Super Bowl, baby.
There you go.
Trey Lance.
All right. Who do you have winning Sunday night?
The Cowboys.
Josh.
Cowboys, everybody.
Everybody's got Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys.
I don't expect Dak to get injured in this game. Everything will be fine.
There you go. He's going to be fine the rest of the year. Talon, thank you so much for coming in and sharing about Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Brent, thank you for hanging out with us as well. Enjoy your game tomorrow. Hope you get to watch it upset as the Baylor Bears beat Utah.
Thank you, Brent Hill, Blanchard and Thomas, law firm, Abilene, family law.
There you go. That's a
And
plug.
estate planning.
And we'll get him an invoice sent out real soon. All right. Hey, thank y'all for being here this morning. We're going to be on the road. See y'all next week.
All right, comes down to Jets and Bills.
Huh?
Jets and Bills. Talon picked the Jets. Molly picked the Bills. That's the only